welcome back to the topic. My name is Terrence, and today we got episode 2 of our Nathan Drake collection. We're gonna go through and do the tutorial again, except I got 5 topics that I'm gonna discuss for you guys today. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it.
Daddy always make time. See you when I'm back home. See you when I'm back home. See you when I'm back home. You know I'ma come back. You know I'ma come back. Don't you be sad, no. Don't you be sad, no. You know I don't want that. You know I don't want that.
All right, good people, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and jump right in. Plane wreck is where we left off on, so let's just dive right in there. Oh, I hope everybody's Thanksgiving break was good. I hope everybody got a lot of food. I hope everybody didn't eat too much. Let's start with a headshot, why not? I know my Thanksgiving break was great just because of the fact that I was able to see my mom. I hadn't seen her in a month because she got COVID. Coward. I hadn't seen her in a month actually because she got COVID. This stuff is real, y'all. So she was super sick. Another headshot. She was super sick and it was just bad. Like anybody that knows me knows that, you know, my mom is my best friend and everything. So to see her down like that, was just a lot for me. And so, I was just glad to be able to see her, honestly, and she was even able to cook and everything, so that made me happy. Big shout out to my mom, and like I said, I hope that y'all was able to enjoy y'all's holidays as well. Let's try out some of these grenades. It might be too far. But, like I said, I got 4 topics for you guys. Oof, nice. Ooh, nice. I told y'all I'm gonna get better for y'all. Okay. So, first topic on my list that I wanted to discuss was most embarrassing moments. I wanted to go on and warm things up with my most embarrassing moments. So, yeah, so let's see if I've had like a couple prepared. I'm just trying to figure out like if which one I want to share first, but I guess I'll start with like, okay, so in high school, one time we had this fall festival like dance thing, and so I'm trying to, what was the song that was out at the time? I think it was like You're a Jerk. I might be telling my age, but whatever. So like, I think You're a Jerk was like the joint that was, you know, the hottest at the time as far as like what everybody was danced to, like the dance that you had to know, the song that it was going to play, and you gotta know what to do. So, so You're a Jerk comes on, and I've been practicing. I was always like one dance joint behind. Like it was always like, no, we do this now, no, we do this now. And I was just like, it would just take me longer than everybody else to get the move. So I would just be like, dang, like, you know, by the time I'm good with the dance, by the time I'm just like, okay, yeah, I know what to do. We done moved on to another one at that time, because you know that was when the dance craze was like, you know, really at its peak. Maybe I'm supposed to go up here and climb this road. Okay. I'm just walking around. But so anyway, so I'm studying, like, and I got it. I'm practicing the jerk. I got it down. I'm got like, you know, I done put in overtime and got the pin drop. I'm like, I'm ready, you know. So the fall festival comes, and the song comes on. So you know, I'm like, all right, here you go. It's time to show them, you know, show them all where that practice has been going. We're gonna skip the movies, of course. So I'm just like, okay, here we go. So it comes on and I start going in because I'm just like confident, like I know I've been practicing, and I'm like, you know, I don't want it to all go to vain, so I'm like, I'm not gonna be scared now. So I'm literally like, you know, just going crazy, just jerking my life away. And people start like crowding around, and I'm like, oh snap. So of course I start going even harder, you know. I'm killing these headshots. I hope y'all seeing this. So I start going even harder because I'm like, okay, they feeling me. I've never been that guy like in the middle of a crowd. So I'm just like, okay, like this is my time. And I turn And so like probably when I'm at my peak like hype, like when I'm putting the most energy into my movements, when I'm at that level with it, all of a sudden like I can't even, like, I kid you not, I don't know if it was a guy or a girl came up and just like they walking like over to me like face to face, but they like tapped me on my shoulder. Who? Oh shoot. They tapped me on my shoulder and they like, hey bro, can you move out the way? Like, yo, homeboy going in. And so this whole time they are like, it's just one of the, I don't know if he was I'm pretty sure he was like a football player or a basketball player or something like that. But dude is like behind me, like a little bit off of me going in. And I became a part of the circle after that, because I was just like, I had to step to the side. And the whole time they were basically like hyping this dude, and I'm thinking it's me. And dude had like, it was to the point where dude had to be like, yo, you in the way, like I'm trying to like record other like so I was like super embarrassed, because I could only imagine like the amount of energy I was putting into these movements because I'm thinking that I'm doing my thing. I'm thinking it's about me. Gosh, I keep dying. Like, it's like I'm really not. I'm really good. But next topic we have is my favorite year thus far and why. So my favorite. Ooh, I'm about to take him quiet. He's over there. So, my favorite year thus far and why had to be 2018 so far. I say 2018 because that's when I was doing a lot of traveling and concerts and traveling with concerts, and it was just a good time. I had a good job, so I could, afford to just, do what I want. I had a lot of like PTO and stuff, so, oh shoot. So I could take all the time, and I enjoyed it. First I was like, didn't think I would, because nobody else really had the time that I did, and to go to as many places, because I was just like, this is my time. Like, I need to like go. Like, I was like on go. So nobody else was really in that place to do that, so I was like, dang, like, what am I gonna do? Like, am I gonna miss out on this time that I have? But I shoot. But instead, I, decided that I'm gonna start just traveling by myself. I made that decision. I had my roommate at the time. He was a whiz at, traveling by himself. So like, he really put me on and gave me a lot of good tips. And before I knew it, I was just like comfortable with it. I was like, okay, bet, like, if it's really that easy. And really just reassuring me that I would still have a good time, I think, was what it was. I didn't think that it would be difficult. I knew it would be actually easier because, planning or whatever like that. But it was really just, I think everybody's reservation about it is, are you still gonna have a good time? You're by yourself. Like, wherever you go, whatever you do, like, you're by yourself. Like, is it still going to be a good time? Had one hit a quitter, don't play. And it was. I was able to still, like, find some great places, just have my itinerary stacked, basically, have something to do literally every, minute that I'm down there, have my places that I want to eat lined up, and it just like, you stay on the go, you stay moving, and I was able to have a really good time, every place that I went. Coward. But so yeah, 2018 like by far is my favorite year, and that brings me actually to my third topic, which is traveling solo. And traveling solo, like I guess if I could give some tips at at traveling by yourself, like outside of just having your itinerary stacked, you got to. This is a lot of people that just came out and ganged up on you. Wow. wow, what do they expect me to do with like 8 people that come out of the fold like that? This is really something. Look at all that. This is a better setup though for back here. At least. Let's try ball. This is probably where they want me to use these grenades. I'm about to say. Okay. But yeah, so outside of having your itinerary stacked when traveling by yourself, I would say you gotta do things that are going to be very publicly engaging. Like you gotta do things like concerts and happy hours and brunches and everything like that. But I mean, a lot of it does depend on the type of person that you are too though. I would say that like if you are the type of person like me who like likes to engage with people, likes to talk to people, likes to make friends, like that's what's gonna make your experience like you can't imagine just actually spending the whole trip. Unless it's that type of trip, you can't actually imagine spending the whole trip just in solitude like that. Like that's if the trip isn't like a peaceful trip like that, like a you just taking your space type of trip, then yeah, you have to like build your itinerary according to what type of vibes you want to be on, what type of trip that you want to have. So like with me, like most of my trips, like I want to. Ooh, I almost fell for that trap. I want to like, engage with people, meet people, talk to people at some point. There's going to be like times when I'm going to be on my own thing. But for the most part, yeah, like I want to meet and talk with people to some degree. So I'm going to pick publicly engaging activities throughout the course of the trip. I'm going to pick concerts. I'm going to pick, like I said, happy hours and brunches. I'm going to, pick like, just events that are going to be more so groups where people could have also come by themselves, but for the group, like, certain parties, I'm not a big club goer, but like certain like lounge, more casual lounge type events, more chill lounge type events, maybe, the fortress, we about to climb this thing, ain't we? And if it's a peace trip, it's not so much pressure on you having to actually, it won't be so much pressure on you having to actually like spend time with people. You might do things like spas and things like that, things where you will literally be okay by yourself, dinners, like intimate dinners and everything in the evening, that's and stuff like that. Go ahead and make your reservations for one, and just like I said, just build your itinerary according to what you're trying to do. But for the most part, for the people that are like, trying to engage with people to some degree, then like I said, like, you gotta pick things that will allow for that for sure. Okay, that wasn't as hard as I thought. Like I said, I know with me, it's always gonna be a concert. It's always gonna be some type of live showing, like a poetry type thing, just something where you could come and that it's only going to be one person there possibly, like everybody isn't going to be in a couple or in a group when they go. Like people could just pull up and show up to it because of their interest, and especially if it's something that is within your interest, so it's something that you feel real comfortable talking to. So yeah, if you make eye contact with somebody or sit next or near anybody or a group of people, then it'll be easy for you to just like join in on that group and everything and talk about something that y'all clearly have similar interests in because y'all are there. So I know that's cool. One of the worst decisions though that I made traveling solo was my birthday. I went on a cruise. It was my first, I was turning 25 and I was like, I have to go on a cruise. Like I've never been on a cruise before. And this is ridiculous. I need to go on a cruise. So I'm guessing I'm supposed to go out that other window then. So I had a group though. I was like, yeah, okay. I had a bunch of people who I was like, cool. We're about to do this cruise for my birthday. My birthday's May 5th, so I was like Cinco de Mayo's right there. So we're gonna be in Mexico on Cinco de Mayo and then be in Mexico on my birthday. It's gonna be great. Like, it's gonna go up. But it didn't happen that way. Like, just things happened. People were like trying to change the date, but I was being stubborn. And instead of like wanting to go with like the group being like, hey, let's do it like the week after or the week before, I was like, no. This whole thing was for me to be in Mexico on Cinco de Mayo and for me to be in Mexico on my birthday. I was determined to be in Mexico on my actual birthday, and not like, yeah, my birthday was last week or my birthday was, like, no. I was like, no, I'm gonna be in Mexico on my birthday. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna still go. Forget it. So I said, I'm gonna just do this by myself. So I did. I got the cruise. I got the the ticket or whatever. I flew to New Orleans and then I flew to New Orleans and stayed in New Orleans for a day. Nice little pregame. Got lit out there, and then from there, this headshot gonna be just right. And then from there, I, docked and set sail for Mexico. And it was miserable. I had a terrible time. Nobody goes on cruises by themselves. So everybody was already in their group. Everybody already had their crew. And here I am just like, I mean, granted, it is an easy environment to make friends. Everybody's, doing a good amount of drinking and everything like that. But it was like, also just like a lot of like family. So he's got the angle on me. I knew it. But it was also like a lot of family. So, people who are in their groups, like if they're not like already with like an actual crew, they're with family. And so it's just like you kind of got to already have your crew out there. You can't go out there like by yourself and, whatever. Like I did find some friends, but even that in itself is a long story because, I don't know. It just never ended up. I never end up clicking or syncing, and then it was hard to communicate because, of course, you can't text or anything while you out there. Even if you paid for the internet or the Wi-Fi or whatever, still couldn't use it. So, So, yeah, it bad decision. Probably the worst decision I've ever made because it cost me a lot of money. And just for me to not have a good time. And I ended up like going to jail in Mexico. That was rough, like really, really rough. But that was a long story within itself that I'll get into on another show. Oh, I wanted his head. Shoot, I can't get to him like that either. Woohoo! How did we get here? Who? Gosh. So, anyway. Actually, you know what? We got time. I'm gonna tell the story. So, I made friends with this crew, 2 girls and a guy, and I met them, got cool with them the night before we were going to like actually dock in Mexico. So when we got to Mexico, they was like, hey, you by yourself, you should link with us. We want to get a Jeep and drive around the island. I was like, bet, because that's what I want to do. I want to see as much as I can, and we can see a lot more, if we're on Jeep than if we're on foot. So, on Jeep than on feet. Then, so, we So we did it when everything was cool. We was riding around, taking videos, taking pictures at the beaches, you know, cool. Like, not like just not, of course, just a beautiful day. We got our Jeep, we having a good time, and we get stopped by the police who says that we're driving on the wrong side of the island. And so we were like, it's a one-way, so how is that even possible? All of a sudden the dude acts like he can't speak English, and it's just like, you know, look, either you can dispute it and sit in a holding cell for 48 hours, which they know that we can't do, or we can pay him a little something. And I had heard about like this in movies, but I had never thought that this was like real life, like that you would literally, you know, have to pay off the authorities to avoid like jail. So but it was real. We really like, so we, you know, slid him a few dollars. I think it was like probably $20, and he let us go. Luckily, we had just got, you know, pesos but it was like pesos that we were just planning to keep for like memorabilia. But, you know, we ended up having to give, you know, half of that money, you know, to the cops. So that was that. So the two girls was shook after that. They was like, we want to go home. You know, I'm not feeling this. I didn't know this. You know, I don't like this. So they was like, we want to go back to the boat. And we was like, me and the dude was like, man, what? Like, you know, I know that was like, you know, not cool, but, you know, like we still got this Jeep. We got it for the day. Like, you know, it can still be a good time. They were just like, nah. So, okay, cool. We dropped him back off at the boat. I looked at him. He looked at me. I was like, what you trying to do? He was like, I'm trying to keep driving. I was like, bet. He's driving. Cool. Till we get to this tequila tour. We go on a tequila tour. We try all of, like, I'm not a big fan of tequila, but this was like some top tier tequila, the smoothest alcohol I've ever had in my life. Like, amazingly smooth, tasted way too good, and, you know, was pretty strong, but not, you know, not too much, because, you know, of course they only give you so much or whatever, especially since they knew that we had to drive. So after the tequila tour, he's a lightweight, so he's like, you know what, I can't drive. So I'm like, cool, I'll drive, I'm fine. So now I'm driving, and the only thing that I wanted to do, literally the only thing that I wanted to do, was to take pictures by these square pyramids. I was just like, I have to see these square pyramids. Ooh, okay, that was a dramatic death. But I was like, I have to take pictures by these square pyramids, like I have to. And so, we're literally finally like getting up to where we're about to take the left to get to the square pyramids or whatever. And so I'm excited, and the moment I've been waiting for, and we get hit by another Jeep that's doing like tours. That's like a tour guide Jeep, you know, for other people on the island or whatever. And so we get hit, and we go into the side of the ditch and everything. Jeep rolls over and everything like that. Crazy, but the car isn't messed up that much. Their car can't drive, ours can, you know, but they hit me. Like, you know, I'm making a left turn, and he was supposed to yield and didn't, so not my fault. And that's why he hit me. So I'm like, man, this is his fault. You know, I wouldn't have made that left if I didn't know I could have. So we get out, and we trying to talk to them. They speak no English. And so I'm trying to explain to him everything and telling him like, yo, you know, this is your fault or whatever. The first cops that please just like, we'll see when the cops pull up, basically. So I know like just enough Spanish to where I can understand them, like, but not enough to where I can actually like communicate back. So the cops pull up, and it's the same cops that pulled us. Gosh, this man is freaking James Bond. And it's the same cops that pulled us over for him before, like the same dudes. And so they pull up on the scene smiling, and we're like, oh man, we already know that it's about to be some bull. So we pull up, they take a look at both cars. They speak only to the other guys. They don't say anything to us. They're just speaking Spanish to the other people. And we're just like, hey, like, you know, are you gonna get our side? Are you gonna get our statement? Like, what's going on? And he's just like, somebody needs to admit fault, basically. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, it's their fault. They didn't yield when I made my left. They need to admit fault. Dude wouldn't, of course. And he's just like, if nobody's going to admit fault, you guys have to, once again, sit inside of a holding cell for 48 hours, which they know we can't do. And, of course, I'm pretty sure the other people know that we can't do. And so he's just like, okay, well, I'm not going to admit fault, so I guess that's what we're going to have to do. I call his bluff, and I'm like, okay, well, then I guess we got to go to the holding cell. So since I'm driving, I have to go. The other dude can just go back. I tell him, go back to the boat, tell him I'm coming, you know, like, basically. And he's just like, okay, you know, and there's no way we're going to be able to contact each other. So this is a very scary situation, but I'm just like, what, you know, what else can we do? So I go to the holding cell and sit for a few hours, and after a while I'm just like, this dude ain't budging, and he has no reason to because he lives there. So he can sit and bluff for as long as he wants, but he's not going to admit fault. So I ended up having to come out of pocket, basically again, to bail myself out and, you know, pay the ticket or whatever, which was again also expensive. So that was terrible. And like I said, it was just the worst possible situation to be in on your birthday, is to be in jail in Mexico. So a lot of regrets. The only thing that comes out of it is a story to tell people, to tell my grandkids, to tell you guys or whatever. That's about it. That's about all I get out of it. But it's a very expensive story to tell. But so yeah, don't go on a cruise by yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I'm pretty sure none of y'all would do nothing like that. That's just me. Move some steps. Otherwise, as far as just flying somewhere, like, yeah. A little destination concert, yeah. But whole cruise, nah. 2 out of 10 would not recommend. Zip line. I get it. My fourth topic is, so you want to be an engineer. Skip the movie. Not that anybody said that they. Well, I've recently actually had a couple people come to me about engineering, about software development, whether it's front end or back end, or just getting into the field in particular. So just getting into the field in general, because it's hard to be particular about it because it's so broad. But yeah, so just getting into the field in general and just asking for like insight and tips and everything like that. And you know, this is what I, you know, just knew that I wanted to do, in a sense. Like I said, it's still like a very broad field, so I couldn't tell you like that this is exactly, but you know, it definitely is still like, I've always wanted to call myself an engineer. I've always wanted to be an engineer, you know, like that was just like a title that just seemed to command so much respect and like just hold so much weight to it, and just always just seemed so cool to me, like to be an engineer. I didn't know what kind. Actually in high school it was probably going to be architectural, because my first mentor was my architectural drafting class. Shout out to Mr. Jackson, Mr. Terrence Jackson. We had the same first name. But so I thought I was going to be an architectural engineer. then, went to college, made some changes, realized that I want to do like work with video games, and that's more like graphic engineering, or some sort of like actually technically not an engineering is what I was told by my counselor at the time, saying that this is more so a designer or something like that. But maybe I didn't explain exactly like what I wanted to do. But then again, maybe I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do I just probably knew like, yeah, I want to work around video games and I want to be considered an engineer. So that's, probably where that left me. So, yeah, so then I went to like, I guess like some kind of like graphic design thing, but I didn't like it because it didn't have engineering in the title, so I wasn't set on it. But it's, I guess, what I was considered to be going for very briefly. And but it really didn't matter because my school wasn't a big tech school, so whatever I chose would be something. Either way, my degree was just going to say like, bachelor's of science, engineering or whatever like that. So it really didn't matter. From then on, I had to be the one to, jump into something specific or make it more specific, have an actual concentration. Yo. What was the hint? Give me the hint again, cause unless it's this here, maybe. Let's see. So yeah, but like I said, I've been having people come. Ooh, yo, that's where I'm supposed to be. People shooting at me. Like I said, I've been having people lately come to me asking me about, why I became an engineer, what I want, and really just ask for insight regarding the different occupations and, the curriculum and what it's like, and I give them the real. I tell them that, it's, of course, it's not easy, but it is rewarding, but it is very challenging, I will not die in this water. But yeah, so to anybody that is looking to make a career change, or even if you are in your career but you're just trying to go a step up or whatever the case, like if you are in this field or trying to get in this field, this is for me to, I guess, provide any type of insight that I can to the best of my abilities, at least. I'm no master when it comes to this. I'm still trying to work my way up, but I have been in the field for 6 years now, so may be able to answer some questions or clarify some things, but yeah, for those who are trying to get into it, it's a lot of different categories. It's a lot of different categories when it comes to engineering. You got front end and back end, are like two of the like simplest ones that I could probably bring up, because it's basically just like, if you want to shoot. I know, like for me, I've always wanted to do front end because I want to work with the nice part that people get to see, the website and the just all of the design that comes with the front, the customer facing part. So basically, this is what the people see. This is what attracts people to your company as a whole, because this is, what its purpose for is to attract you to it. It's their website and everything like that. So I know I always wanted to work on that part because I get to see whatever code that I implement literally come to life, and so that's cool. Whereas with back end, it's like you have to, be okay with, seeing the theoretical presence of your code. Like, you have to know that what you do is meeting a particular purpose, but you're unless it's directly connected to a UI, to some front end, then you kind of just, like I said, you have to just be like, I know that what I did is going to help for this to become possible, but you're not going to be able to actually just see it come to life like you are for front end So it's not as um, it's not as gratifying. If that's something that you're looking for, it's not as gratifying. But if you like it, or if it's something that you enjoy, and of course it's, you know, still great opportunities, still great money in it. So, you know, it's also something that you can do. You know, people, and honestly, a lot of people like to do the front end part. So you're gonna run into a lot more of a saturated market for people who are just like, yeah, I want to do front end development, because it's not as gratifying doing back end. So you're not gonna have as many people that, you know how to do it, and it's not as easy. You know, I mean, neither of them are easy really, because, you know, it just all depends on, you know, what you're being asked to do. But, you know, back end is one of those things that is pretty much notoriously a little bit more rigorous, you know, just because of the application of it. So that's another thing, like, you know, but like I said, if you being good at it just makes you that much more of an asset. And I mean, and honestly, you want to just kind of be well-rounded anyway. You don't want to be somebody who's like, I want to do this and I can only do this. That's just not going to do very well. God dang it. That's just not going to do very well in the industry, because it's not many times where you're going to only do one thing. It's just not. Like, you know, I've jocked back and forth between engineering and data analysts a lot, you know, just because even when sometimes I think that I'm about to just be like an engineer, I end up doing so much. Yeah, I end up doing like a lot of analytics, and I'm just like, this is not, God dang it, this is not what I thought that I was going to be doing, you know. I had a whole role where I thought that I was a developer on a finance team, and I was doing nothing but analytics the whole time. I probably didn't touch one line of code for the entire time I was there, because it just wasn't my role. It wasn't what they needed. It's really a see a need, fill a need, you know. Sometimes being an engineer really just means you kind of a jack of all trades type of person when it comes to the technology world. You know, especially in my experiences now, you know, it's really just like, can you do the things that we need you to do within this tech space? Just all of it. Can you do the front end? Can you do the back end? Can you manage servers? Can you do like network operations type things? Can you do analytics and pull up our metrics and everything? Can you, you know, troubleshoot and scan for issues, and just, you know, you know, the more you get into it, the more it's like a jack of all trades type of thing. Like, you have to be able to just do a lot of things, you know, a lot of things. You have to be able to meet the needs of the business partners and answer their questions, especially when there's like a technical issue. Thought he had me. Come on. Here we go. But so tips. Something that I do is I look at Udemy. I look at Udemy. Udemy is a great source for me, always has been. Whether I'm studying for an interview or trying to sharpen my own skills. So you can they always do like these good sales on Udemy. Like, normally they're like, courses be like $100, but they always have these random flash sales where they do 90% off. And so the courses will, you know, for days at a time will be like $10. And so, you know, you can get $100 course for $10 at random because of whatever it is, you know, whatever. Oh my gosh. Y'all are asking for the impossible, honestly. Like, who were those two guys? Oh, I'm just glad they didn't kill me. Okay. But yeah, so Udemy's a great source. If you're looking for front end, then look at their HTML and CSS course. They also have a JavaScript course. You're going to need that. A TypeScript course. You're going to need that. But the TypeScript is you're going to get TypeScript when you look at the JavaScript course. You're going to get TypeScript when you look at the HTML, CSS course. But if you want one that's specifically TypeScript, I'm recently learning that having a TypeScript specific course, taking a TypeScript specific course is actually pretty helpful, because TypeScript is a lot more than I thought it was and can do a lot more than I thought it was from a programming standpoint. You know, I always thought that it was like an additive, and it turns out that it's actually like it can be its own thing for sure, and carry its own weight just like JavaScript can. So it you know, be in your best interest to take a TypeScript course, you know, on its own if you don't get enough of it while taking those courses. I'm just running through water. Let me figure out where I'm supposed to go. For back end, you have of course Java. For front end also, like you want to pick a framework like React or Angular or Vue. You know, Vue is a new one. Vue is one that I'm recently getting into because of my job. You know, that's another thing. You got to be flexible and pick up another language. You might get hired because they see that you know how to do programming, but then they might hire you and not even tell you that, hey, yeah, that's cool, but we do this programming language, so we're glad that you're proficient in this language, but as soon as you get on this team, you have to learn this language. And that's just how it is. You know, if you say that you know how to do programming, then that means you know how to do programming. So it's no excuses to say, well, I don't really know. But that is also rare. Like, no, most of the time they want to know that you're proficient in that language. But I guess because the two languages that I've had to learn are very, very new. Vue and Kotlin are just really hitting the scene, and so it's, you know, a lot to ask for somebody to actually already know those languages, because they're just not very popular right now, but they are very, like, you know, capable languages. So Vue is a good one, a good framework, if not for React or Angular, but React and Angular are the most common, unless you see a job that specifically asks for you to learn Vue and you're like, oh, okay, let me pick up this real quick, then, you know, probably good with either Angular or React. For backend, like we want to look at Java. Like I said, Kotlin is a new one that I'm learning now. It's very similar to Java, but for the most part, not many people are going to ask you about Kotlin. But Java, you want to take a course on Java. You want to take a course on, you probably want to take a course on microservices. You're going to need to work with those to some degree if you're working with, God dang it, if you're working with, like, you know, any type of back-end development, you need to be familiar with servers and microservices and things like that, because those are going to be the things that you're going to be working with. You probably want to take time to learn MongoDB or some SQL, so because they'll probably have you, you know, having to pull data or manipulate or work with data on the back end, so you're going to need to know how to interact with the database that's on the back end and everything like that. So, you know, any of those type of things could help. Okay, what else do you need? Is there another? Oh, probably this up here. But yeah, so as far as like, I wouldn't be able to tell you about, like, if you're trying to do security or cybersecurity, chapter 6. I wouldn't be able to tell you about I wouldn't be able to tell you about security much, so I haven't had the pleasure of working in security, so that would be something that I would probably have somebody that I could send you to. But otherwise, if you're just looking at programming, whether it's front end or back end, you know, I have done both, or even just data analytics, business analytics. I've done those things, so that's that. Which brings me to our last topic, which is interview tips. So just going to slide right into basically with all the jobs that I've transitioned to, of course, it's been a lot of interviewing. So interview tips, best things that I can tell you is have stories prepared about your job experiences, like stories, like have in your head, stories that highlight your skills, highlight, good things about you. you know, they don't have to be the 100% truth, because they can tell you that this didn't happen to you 2 years ago at your job on this day. Like, they can't, and they have no way to trace that back. So, have the story and everything like that. Of course, make it as close to the truth as possible, because you need to know it as the truth or whatever like that. But if it's something that you need to change or alter or whatever for your benefit, then do so. Like I said, because they can't fact check you on it, and you need to have yourself raised in the best light possible. So, if that means, instead of saying that I work with a team of 5, if it's like I was the senior on a team of 5, don't go too crazy, of course, especially if it's not something that you can back up with actual skills, then no. But, if it's something that you can definitely, justify and back up with your own skills and experience, and if it benefits, the criteria of the job, then a little stretch. But, have about 5 stories prepared, because you're going to have behavioral questions that's going to ask, name a time where this happened, give me a time where this happened, what's a time where this happened. You need to have those stories prepared, and you can follow you can follow that STAR method, so that way we make sure that your story answers all of those questions and everything like that. But for the most part, just have the story. Just have a good story that gets to the point of, what actually happened and how you displayed, these particular skills that they know that they're going to need, look up the company. I think that goes without saying, but, just in case some people don't feel like they would, that the employers are really going to expect them to know so much about the company, especially the history and stuff like that. In real life, they're probably not going to care too much that you know the history. It's not going to hurt you that you don't, but it can only help you that you do. So knowing not necessarily the history of the company, but just the goals, what the company does, what the company is looking to do, that kind of thing can really help. Because if anything, that tells them that you are a research type of person. You are a get information, get answers sort of person. And that can help you more on any job than your skills themselves. It's the fact that you are willing to go, is that you're curious enough to go get the information, and that you are well-rounded enough that you want to know certain things, that you're investing yourself into, that you're investing time into, and that you care. Simply that you care. So, so take that time to at least know what that company's mission and goals are. I was like, if you got me, you got me, because I'm backed into a hole. But yeah, so always take time to do just a little bit of research, just enough to know, okay, that's what they do, that's what they about. I believe you this close to me and didn't think you was gonna get a headshot. So, other interview tips. Look up the person on LinkedIn, because that is a profile right there that can tell you things. Look up that person on Facebook, the person who you're interviewing. Try to figure out what their name is. Try to figure, and look that person up on Facebook and LinkedIn, because you might be able to find something that y'all have in common, or an interest, or something that can trigger them in a really positive way, oh, this and that, you can walk into the interview and it doesn't have to even be something that you researched on your own. If you see they have a dog and you also have a dog, that you can mention your dog, and instead of making it weird, hey, I saw that you have a dog, you can just, at some point, you know, in whether in casual conversation before or after, or you know, anywhere throughout where it makes sense, then you could, you know, mention your dog or something like that, and that's something that can make you memorable amongst all the other people that they might be interviewing. You will be that person that, hey, he discussed a dog. I also have a dog and care a lot about my dog. If you see them posting a lot of pictures about him and stuff like that, so little things like that to make yourself memorable. If they have a bunch of people that they're interviewing for the position, and assume that they do. Don't assume that you are. Don't, you know? Of course, don't assume that you are the only choice. You know, for the interview. You know, you need to make sure, or the most qualified choice for that matter. Like, assume that there's a lot of people that they're interviewing, and some of them people are really, really good. And while you're coming in with maybe a bachelor's degree or maybe even a master's degree, somebody got a PhD. So you need to make sure that you are applying that kind of pressure to know, like, okay, you know, how else can I stand out and be good over that person who does have that PhD? I've been on the other side of the table where you have people that are up against that person with that PhD, and it still comes down to other things like they don't have the job guarantee just because they just may not have been as remembered outside of, well, I know that they had a PhD, you know, and of course that's a big, you know, shiner, like, okay, yeah, like, that's memorable. But if nothing else, then, you know, you have to figure out what other things can you provide that's going to make them more confident in you. And don't discredit the fact that people like to make sure that they like the person that they work with. You know, it's times where you can get the job just because people feel like I can work with you. You are somebody that I would like to see around the office and feel like I can joke with around the office and feel like work would be a good time and an enjoyable experience on a daily basis, you know. So don't discount the fact that people like to make sure, if you think about it, if you're in control of who you can work with on a daily basis, if you actually were the manager and could say, like, and could pick your team, you know, outside of just like, oh yeah, I would pick all my friends. If you had to pick some complete strangers, you're gonna want to pick people that you know that you could work with on a daily basis. You know, you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, like, I want, you know, if I can say yes or no to you just like that, like, if I know that you cool and I can work with you, it's gonna be more so of a yes for you because you got to be in this environment with them. So they have that, you know, that power. They are in control. So they of course want to take advantage of that and be around people that make work enjoyable for them. So don't discount the fact that, you know, that is a real thing, and that, you know, you really can sell yourself and give yourself that extra boost just by being somebody that's likable. And so don't be afraid to show your personality at some point, you know, show some likable traits about you at some point, so that way, you know, by the end of it, they'll feel like, yeah, like, I would enjoy coming to work with this person. So, let's see. Yeah. Ooh, which way to go? This way? Ooh, that was a guess. I didn't know what I was gonna grab onto. Hey. Okay. I believe this is probably a good place to stop. So, with that being said, I hope that I was able to be helpful or insightful in some way. I hope that, you know, the things that I said made sense. I hope that it provided some insight and some clarity. If you have any other questions or want me to dive deeper into any of these topics, please post in the comments below and let me know that, hey, could you say more about this? And it'll probably be something that I can bring up again and maybe have a part 2 about, or maybe something specific about the topic I can discuss on, you know, the next time I do these tutorials, or maybe I can bring in somebody who has that much more expertise on it, and maybe it's something that we can discuss together, so that way that deep dive happens. But yeah, so be sure to like, comment below, and let me know what you think, what topics that you really enjoyed, what things really helped you. And like I said, if you want to hear more, if you want to know more about something, then definitely let me know as well. And also, I'm available, of course, if you want to reach me. You can let me know, of course, in the comments that you want to actually reach me, and we can actually, you know, sit down, and I'll be able to tell you as much as you want to know about, you know, everything, because, you know, I love the field. I want other people to love the field, and I want everybody to be great, whether it's in this field or whatever they want to do. Like, yeah, as you can tell, the interview tips were not specific to just engineering. Like, it's very, like, you know, specific to, very non-specific to like everything, because, you know, regardless, there are a lot of commonalities between what these people look for in their interviews and everything. And that's something that I would like to touch on again for sure, because it's so much more that can be said about that. But we're out of time for today. But thanks again for tuning in. For those of y'all who are still here, thank you so much. For those of y'all who saw my last 2 videos, thank you. If not, go see my last 2 videos. Yeah, that's back to the topic. Thank you.
Okay, little baby, yeah, little baby, okay, little baby, okay, little baby. Okay, I think I'm still that way. No one can make me feel